The day has finally arrived. Let's talk about Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I can't believe it. Oh my god, so I have my notes, I have a lot of them. This is a spoiler review of Crimes of Grindelwald. I repeat, a spoiler review. I've decided not to do a spoiler and a spoiler-free like I did last year, just because there's so much I need to talk about. So this will contain major spoilers for the Crimes of Grindelwald. So please don't watch this video until you have watched the movie. I am so excited to talk to you about this. This is your final warning. If you don't want spoilers, if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, switch this video off now. Here we go. So like I said, I've got a lot of notes. I loved this movie. That's not to say it didn't have its flaws, which we'll get into, but as a whole, I adored this film. Let's go. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the music a little bit in the movie. The music is composed by James Newton Howard, and it is phenomenal. The music in this is just incredible. From the very first bar, when you hear Hedwig's theme at the very beginning, you see the gorgeous new logo, the new Wizarding World logo. I was hooked. That first piece of music is just amazing. Harry Potter in general, the Wizarding World, has always had outstanding composers and outstanding musical pieces, and this film is no different. On that same line, I also want to praise Colleen Atwood for her superb costume design for this film. In particular, I adore Tina Goldstein's new look in this film, because she looks drastically different from the first. I would say the new haircut, the asymmetrical bob kind of thing we've got going on, the new costume. I love all of the costumes in this, but in particular, Tina's new look is stunning and it is beautiful. That's not to say her look in the first film was bad, but I feel like the look of Tina is just so much mature. Tina has grown up, and you know, this her costume and her hair, I could talk about it for days. The costume design in this, spot on. Love Newt's new coat and his new outfit. I'm that excited you actually fell to the floor, guys. It wouldn't be an Emma Cosgrove video without a blooper, but I loved the costumes. So I don't know how long this video is going to run for, because I have a lot to say. Let's see. So on to the settings of the movie. Obviously we was in France a lot, in Paris. We was also back in Scotland, back to Hogwarts, which I adored. We were in America with Mussa, a lot of places. And I think the French ministry was beautiful, really nice. We didn't see much of it, but from what we did see of the French ministry, I really enjoyed it. Then we had the circus scenes, which I'm a bit hit and miss with, to be honest. I didn't think the circus scenes added as much to the film as I thought they would. But there's a reason for that, and we'll get on with it. But yeah, overall, I thought the settings were great. Because they've been to, I think, 3 settings in this film, I'm hoping the next film they go somewhere new that we haven't seen, the next film they go somewhere new where we haven't seen, etc, because Harry Potter was predominantly set in the same place, so it would be nice to see lots of other different parts of the world and different wizarding communities and things like that. So I also, talking about settings, I wanted to just talk about Newt's house a little bit. Is it Newt's house? Where he goes down the stairs and all the magical creatures are there, which I will talk about later on. It's nice to know that it's not just Newt's case that he carries around with him that has creatures in it, but he also lives with the creatures as well, which I think we all assumed anyway, but I think it was lovely to see that. I'm just, reading these notes, I'm just so shook. Let's talk about the overall plot of the movie. I really enjoyed this movie, like I said, but there was a lot. I don't want to call myself like a hardcore Harry Potter fan, but let's be real, I am. There was quite a few continuity errors in this film. The biggest for me would be the fact that McGonagall was in it. Now, Dumbledore never called the woman Minerva. He just said McGonagall. So hopefully it's a relative of Minerva McGonagall, because she shouldn't actually be born at this point. So they've completely, if that is Minerva, they have retconned the whole thing just as a bit of a fan service, which I don't really appreciate. And let's talk about Credence, or Aurelius Dumbledore. What? What? Now, I don't know if I'm going to be in the minority here, but I didn't like that reveal at all. J.K. Rowling knows what she's doing, and so do all the filmmakers and everyone involved with it. They know what they're doing, so I'm sure they will find a way to make this make sense, to figure it out. But I personally just, I didn't like that reveal at all. Credence, as himself, as the Obscurial, I love, but then to sort of retcon it a little bit and turn him into a Dumbledore, it's not for me, but I'm sure it will figure itself out. But speaking of that in particular, I just wanted to go into a little bit of a theory I have on the Blood Pact. So we know that Dumbledore can't move against Grindelwald because they made a blood pact when they were younger. Also, his feelings for Grindelwald, I imagine, get in the way as well. Now, if Credence is related to Dumbledore, because I believe he is related to Albus Dumbledore, I don't think he's his brother. That's just too much retconning with no foreshadowing at all. As we know, Dumbledore has a brother and a sister who their backstories have been explained in a lot of detail, so to just sort of add another sibling doesn't really do it for me. However, let's assume that Credence is related to Dumbledore in some other form or another. This is my blood pact theory. So his blood and Dumbledore's blood would be connected if they were related. You know, we share the same DNA as some of our ancestors and our family members, even though it's not exactly the same. So I had a cool little blood pact theory that I don't think anything will happen with, that somehow Credence is the key to breaking the blood pact, and his blood could potentially replace Dumbledore's. I'm not very good at these theory crafting things, but in a way that Credence then can't go against Grindelwald, but Dumbledore can, and Grindelwald hasn't figured this out. I don't know, it's a very weird theory, but that's the one I'm going with at the minute. But I do like the idea of this blood pact, because I've seen this before, I've heard this said before, so this isn't my, original thoughts, but just being in love with somebody doesn't mean that you can't go against them. So if I had a partner or whatever that did something really, really terrible, I wouldn't not stand against them just because I loved them. So I think having this blood pact there is another reason that Dumbledore can go, yes, I do love him, I do love him, I do like him, I do have a crush on him, whatever. There is this bond there, but also that's not the only reason I'm not willing to stand against him. There's this whole blood pact thing, so I do like that. And I thought that was very cleverly done. I think there was a lot of fan service in this film for, original Harry Potter fans. Nicholas Flamel in particular, like I've already mentioned McGonagall, but Nicholas Flamel, I don't really see the point of him in this movie. I think it was just a huge fan service. You saw the Philosopher's Stone in his cabinet, and I think he was there for a bit of comic relief, really, which is Jacob's kind of thing. We'll talk about Jacob in a minute. I just think Nicholas Flamel was there purely for the fan service, and I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that Nicholas Flamel being there was bad, I just don't think it was necessary for the film. So let's get on to the characters. I really like Johnny Depp as Gellert Grindelwald. The only thing I would say is Johnny Depp is one of those actors, I think he unintentionally does it, where I can hear his accent shifting throughout various points of the film. So for me to get, attached to a character or involved with a character or to relate to a character, I need to know who that character is. But I think Johnny Depp has done that intentionally. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a lot of accent changes with Grindelwald and, accentuations and things. And I think Johnny Depp has done that on purpose to keep us guessing about who Grindelwald is, what his motives are, and I understand that, but for me it was a bit off-putting to listen to Grindelwald's speeches and have the accent shift continually. I struggle with that a lot, but that's a very, very, very minor flaw. On the whole, I did really enjoy Johnny Depp's portrayal of Gellert Grindelwald. I loved the little bit of Jamie Campbell-Bower that we saw, but we need more of that, I'm telling you. But I did enjoy Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. I just don't know where he's going to go from here, but I'm sure he's going to surprise us. Jude Law as Dumbledore, I thought he was really, really good. Nothing's going to beat the Dumbledore that we know and love, I don't think. But I did think Jude Law has done the best with what he's been given. I think he understands who Dumbledore is, and you know, to play a character that we already know and love so well, it's vital for the actor to understand who that character is and his motivations and things like that, and I think Jude Law really does, so I do appreciate that. Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, as always, is outstanding. Easily my favourite Fantastic Beasts character, which is strange because a lot of the Harry Potter fandom don't like Harry Potter is not their favourite character. But for me, Newt is my favourite character in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, so that's really, really cool. It's not often my favourite character is the main protagonist. Who else do we need to talk about? Zoe Kravitz. I thought Zoe Kravitz as Leta Lestrange was very interesting. I really enjoyed her performance. You know me, I'm a Lestrange girl through and through with Bellatrix. So I was really looking forward to seeing Leta, even though she's not related by blood to Bellatrix. I am gutted with how Leta's story has ended. I don't want to talk about it, quite frankly, but I did see it coming. The point where she said, "I love you," and she looked at Newt and Theseus, and you don't know who she was saying "I love you" to. Was it Newt? Was it Theseus? Was it both? I loved that, and I don't want that to be explained. I don't want anyone to say she said it to Newt, she said it to Theseus. I don't want that explaining. I thought that was perfect as it was. And I did have another wacky old theory, but I think this is probably impossible, that Leta could possibly be revived with the Philosopher's Stone, but I don't know if the Philosopher's Stone works on a body, you know what I mean? I think it keeps you immortal while you're alive, but I don't know if it can bring you back to life, so maybe not. But I would really like that, and Leta's story is just so heartbreaking, and I was crying my eyes out, and, you know, about her father, and it was just so heartbreaking. And then we got Yusuf Karma. I didn't see the point of him. I've got to be honest, I didn't get it. You know, you had the whole Unbreakable Vow storyline, and I got his story and the point of him being there, but I just don't think it added anything to the film whatsoever, if I'm honest. You know, we got a bit of emotion with Leta. He's Leta's half-brother. I'm just not there for it, if I'm really honest with you. And then let's talk about Jacob. Now, Jacob was one of my favourite characters, if not my favourite character at the beginning of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I didn't like Jacob that much in this film, which is heartbreaking. That breaks my heart to say that. But I think Jacob's character and demeanour just felt a little bit wrong in this movie. And I'm going to say that about Queenie as well. So there was a lot of fan theories that Queenie was going to turn to the dark side, and that ended up being true, and I don't have a problem with that. I knew that was going to happen, but her demeanour and behaviour in this film, I just didn't like it at all. The whole Queenie putting a spell on Jacob, saying that they're engaged, they're going to get married, and you know, love spells and potions are tricky at the best of times, as Yusuf and Leta sort of prove in this with talking about the Imperious Curse to make someone fall in love with you. And I feel like that's not something Queenie would do from what we've seen of her in the first Fantastic Beasts film. She's so kind and gentle. And yes, she is upset that her and Jacob can't have a relationship because he's a nomad. But I feel like Queenie wouldn't do that. And I just think they altered her behavioural pattern throughout the whole movie. So it was an excuse for her to go over to Grindelwald. You know what I mean? I just thought it was very out of character, both Jacob and Queenie in this movie, and I just wasn't really there for it, if I'm honest. So I think as the storyline as a whole was really, really good. But I think there was so many little storylines in there. You know, you had Nagini's storyline, Credence's storyline, Leta's storyline, Theseus to a point, but not much, Yusuf Karma. There's so many characters there. I think for the casual viewer who wants to enjoy it, I think they have, I don't know what the right word is here. I don't want to say left anybody out, but I think the fandom is going to be divided here with the hardcore fan and the casual viewer, and I'm not really there for that. I just think a lot of casual viewers who just wanted to go in and have a good time and watch a movie are going to come out thinking, I'm not quite sure what just happened there. And that's not great for a big franchise, because you of course want the franchise to continue, but if people don't understand what's going on, then the franchise is going to struggle. Do you know what I mean? So let's talk about the new creatures as well. We're nearly there. So I loved the Zuwu. I hope I'm saying that right. The Zuwu, the little cat, lion, Chinese dragon thing. I thought that was so cute. I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, so I don't want to say anything, but I thought that was so cute. And the little cat toy, and I just loved that creature. I was surprised at the very beginning of the movie that Antonia, the Chupacabra, was in it for a very long time, and then Grindelwald killed her, threw her out of the carriage. I was very, very surprised at that, because they'd made a big fuss about the Chupacabra, really. We'd seen it in promotional images. We had 2 Funko Pops released of Antonia, and they just killed her off in the beginning of the movie, which I think was good, because you expected the Chupacabra to be such a big part of this movie, or at least more, because there was merch. I mean, yes, she did have a hand in releasing Grindelwald, essentially, helping him escape, but to me, that just solidifies, yes, it's a beast, but nobody is safe in this franchise. Just because someone has a piece of merch, it doesn't mean they are safe. And I think it shows that Grindelwald really doesn't care about anyone or anything. He held Antonia and he said he loves her and whatever, you know, really, really nice, really sweet. And then you're so needy, and threw her away, which I think is perfect for Grindelwald's character, but it just shocked me because they'd released, you know, Funko Pops and things on her. So we saw the Kelpie as well, not much to say about that. Just going on a side note here, we also saw Bunty, Newt's assistant, who clearly has a thing for Newt. She fancies him, or she's in love with him, or whatever. I don't know how that's going to play out in the future with Tina, of course. We'll have to see. But I thought Bunty was alright. I don't think she really added too much to the film, but she was a nice addition. And then we saw a Kappa very briefly in the circus. Obviously, Kappas have a lot of real-world mythology. Most of these creatures do, actually. I'd like to see more of a Kappa in the future. Of course, we saw the NIF Fleur again, who, surprisingly, again, I don't know if this is a little bit of fan service, because the NIF Fleur is one of everybody's favourite beasts, surprisingly was the key to the end of the movie, really, with the Blood Pact. And I don't know why that was, really. Again, I feel like that might be a bit fan-servicey, but that might just be me being picky. The baby NIF Fleurs, adorable, cute, I'm down for them. No Dougal in this film. Dougal the Demiguise, as far as I can remember. So that means that I hated the film because there was no Dougal. I'm just kidding, but I love Dougal, and he wasn't here, I don't think. Of course, we still had Pickett. We knew that was going to happen. And then we did briefly see an Augury, which for Cursed Child fans, you'll know why that's pretty important. And he was staring at, or he or she was staring at Jacob, but only for a couple of seconds. So it might be nice to explore Auguries a little bit more. And then we had Thestrals and Phoenixes that we've already had, so I don't really want to talk about those too much. And the only other beast I can really think of that was new was the Matagot. Matagot, not sure how you pronounce that, the cat-like things. And I just, again, didn't see the point, because the beasts have took a very big back step. Obviously, the first film was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, so it was centred on the beasts. The beasts weren't that central for this one. So, I don't know, I just feel like a lot was there to fill a hole, and I don't know. I feel like I'm complaining about the film a lot, but I'm not. I do really enjoy it, but just as such a big fan, I have to nitpick. I can't just sit here and say, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. There's a lot about the film that I did like, but I can't lie and say I enjoyed it all. I think we do have to analyse these things, you know. And the last thing I did write down, which I haven't actually spoke about yet, is Abernathy. I just put Abernathy, huge, because I love the fact that once again, J.K. Rowling has introduced a pretty insignificant character in the first film. Abernathy was in the first film, and no one cared. You know, who's Abernathy? And then in the second film, oh my god, that's Abernathy and that's why he's here. And I just love that J.K. Rowling has done it again. She's introduced a pretty irrelevant character who's turned out to be actually pretty damn relevant, and I love that. I didn't really talk about Grindelwald's followers that much because I don't really have that much to say, but I do think the whole speech and the whole thing in the concert hall, atrium, whatever it was, you know, the big meeting, I thought that was superb. And there was so many parts of this movie that I thought were spot on, but there was some parts, you know, like the Hogwarts scenes I loved, apart from McGonagall. I hope that gets explained. Lita's flashbacks, Newt's flashbacks, although there is another continuity error. Were they standing under the Whomping Willow? Because it wasn't there in Newt's time. But anyway, I digress. I thought the flashbacks and things were done superb. The Bogart scenes, I loved it. So overall, I thought the movie was fantastic. But I do have to nitpick because I feel like there's no point me sitting here and doing a review for you guys if I'm not going to be honest. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, I think I better shut up now because I'm not going to edit this. So if you have stayed for this long, then I applaud you because we are quite a way in, 22 minutes. And I'm not going to edit it because I feel like that would take away my emotion and my feelings if I edit too much and trim too much. So I'm going to leave it at this. Sorry it's so long, but if you were stuck around for this long, then thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Crimes of Grindelwald if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, I'm very, very disappointed in you that you've watched this video. But yeah, so... And please let me know who your favourite character was, actually. Nothing to do with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, just forget about that film. Let me know who your favourite character was in Crimes of Grindelwald, because I think if you sit and think about it, you'll realise that your favourite character probably has changed because of this film. So thank you very much for watching. I can't wait for the next instalment. Oh, it's just perfect. Well, maybe not quite so perfect. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you like this kind of thing, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye! If you've made it this long, I applaud you.